don't forget to mess around when you're doing the Charleston, first thing you do. Now when you round way back, first you grab your gal, and then you clap your hands, and you do the Eagle Rock.
He was thinking that there was a lot of factories on this street, you know, and he says it sounds like a good idea to open up a bar in the middle of 5 factories right on this street. And so him and his cousin opened up the bar. His cousin couldn't get his name on the liquor license because he'd been bought bootlegging across the St. Lawrence River.
From Canada.
And Dad never got caught. And so he says it'd be a good place. He opened up and never turned back. He actually paid for the bar in them 4 years during the war because business was so well. He was back here because he had 2 kids and he didn't get drafted. He was off and running. He's got the oldest. He's got the oldest. In 1933, when the liquor licenses came through, okay.
Him and next door.
Oh, the 3 licenses. First 3 licenses was Pete Costanza next door, okay, and Dad and Fratelli's on State Street. They're the first 3 liquor licenses that came through in 1933 that were legally conserved, and Pete's license was number 1, Dad's was number 2, and Fratelli's was number 3 in Watertown, the first liquor licenses. There was other places that were serving food, but the first 3 people that were legally able to serve liquor was the business right next door. Pete Costanza was the father. When I opened up, when the father passed, Tommy called me. Tommy Costanza, the son, called me to be a pallbearer. And then when my father passed, I called Tommy to be a pallbearer for me, Tommy Costanza. Tommy took over that place, and I took over this place when Dad passed.
But he moved since then. They moved down to...
They moved off that location and went down to where Canales was. So right now, this is the oldest license in. I don't know about the county, but I do know about Watertown. It's the oldest existing license because he brought me in 68. He made me a partner. A couple years later, he put my name on the license in '68 and added it, but he didn't change it. And then when he passed away, I was able to take it off the license without interrupting the running of the license. You had to do it that way because if you don't add another name on the license, you have to put in for a different license. But my name was added on.
What did he say those early days were like?
Well, it was a tough time to be running it because he was busy. And I used to get a lot of squabbles with my mother. Him and my mother used to fight every Sunday. And us 4 little kids were sitting around the table, you know. And all of a sudden, she'd say something to Dad. Dad would say something to her. And the next thing, the spaghetti would start flying over the table, right? And the table would all dispense, right? And that'd be the end of the Sunday dinner. And this was because of, it's hard to run a business like that and be married, yeah. But there used to be they used to have, it was very common for the 2 of them and the spaghetti dinners. And it's a funny thing because both my sisters, Georgie, that never happened, and they were both older than I was, you know. It happened, I know it happened, you know. They just put it out of their heads, you know. Dad used to bring us down here every Sunday, Rip and I. We'd come down and pretend we were cleaning up the bar, you know. And we'd look all over the place and try to find money. And sometimes there's no money there, but then usually Dad would salt the bar, you know.
George and I used to come down every Sunday. We'd go through, help clean up, help my father clean the place up. But we'd get I think my father used to stash money for us to pick up. But I'm not sure of that, but we used to pick up money that people left accidentally or threw up on the bar or something, and it was fun. It was fun.
You know, when we were young, Rip used to clean the place on Sunday. So he would come down and he'd mop up and do all that, and we'd play pool. His father used to give us quarters, red quarters, to put in there free. And we had a great time. It was every Sunday, I think.
And we'd be down sweeping. Rip and I would sweep up nickels and dimes off the floor, you know, and he had already thrown them there to see if we'd sweep up in them areas, you know. Dad set up the bar to get us to do the sweeping and made sure we did it.
One thing I remember about my grandpa, Halloween was the greatest day of the world because our first stop was down at the bar. Pops would run in, look around, and say, yeah, you kids can come in. If it was jammed up, you couldn't. And of course, Grandpa would give us a big bag of chips, 2 giant Slim Jims, and, you know, full things of cookies. I mean, your bag was full when you left, right? Candy bars, full-size candy bars, and we're like, I don't need to go anywhere else. This was the greatest stop. And he'd set us up a Coke, each of us.
When I was a young kid, I was Grandpa. Really? Yeah, I came here and Grandpa used to give me chips.
Not me, man. I was too little. We're 6 years apart.
Yeah, he used to let me play with the shuffleboard. I used to get everything free except the drinks. I used to get change for the jukebox and the pool games. He used to just give me pool money all the time. That's all I remember.
I grew up 50 miles from here, and every Sunday we'd come up here for dinner, and it would be Dave, Mike, Amy, and Bobby, and my brothers Matt, Mark, and me, and my grandma, Helen Colesante. And then Grandpa Colesante, I can remember coming occasionally to dinner, but he was always down here working. So after we had Sunday dinner, always the same spaghetti, we would travel here on our way home, and he would sit us up at the bar and get us a soda, which was really cool because we couldn't drink soda at home. And he'd put a little red straw in it, and then he'd let us walk behind the bar and get a bag of chips that we wanted from the chip thing, and let us play shuffleboard before we went home.
I brought one of my kids down one day, right? And we brought him in, and I came in and left one of them in the car.
Oh,
and so I'm in the car, and I'm coming in here, and I'm standing over the window here, and I'm looking out the window, and all of a sudden the car's drifting. And Amy's right in front of it in the driver's seat, pulled the thing down, and it's going out into the road. I says, oh, man, I ran out of there, and I ran around. She pretty near ran over me, and I opened up the car door, and I slammed on the brake before it went in the road. It's funny watching your kid drive by with your car at 3 years old, you know. I left the car running, and I left the gear on the top. She's in there pretending she's driving, pulls down the gear, gets reverse, of all things, it heads right out into the road, you know. That's probably the worst experience. I certainly learned my lesson with that deal, you know. I was pretty careful after that. I made sure I shut the car off with little kids in there, you know.
We would come down on Sundays when my dad cleans on Sundays, like goes through the whole bar. And every Sunday, every once in a while, we'd get to come down with him. We'd play with the pool table, find money on the ground, which he would always drop money around, and we'd end up, but it was just fun. I mean, you grow up, I mean, you're visiting and coming down and having a good time.
One time when Michael was a teenager, he decided to take a pinball machine that was over here in the corner, and it didn't do anything. So Mike says to his father, can I bring that out? I'll clean it up and bring it out. So Mike sets it out in the bar area. And before, he says, yeah, I'll give you the money. You know, you can have the money you make off of it, because it wasn't
working. Yeah.
Mike it was packed with money. Mike, he says, you ain't keeping that.
Yeah, he left it in the all he did was move the location. All he did is take it out of there,
And
put it up there.
cleaned it up
Next
and,
week it brings in like $150. Mike says, money, money, money. I said, Mike, you're not keeping that money. I said, you're like 12 years old. I said, you can't have that money. I said, I'll put it in my pocket, I'll give it out to you. But I said, thanks for doing that. But I says, you're not getting $150 a week for a kid 12 years old, you know.
You were thinking it'd be $1 or $2.
Yeah, that's what I figured. I figured it wouldn't make any difference. All he did was take it out of there, move it, and it brought in all that friggin' money. You know, he was
a marketing genius.
He was good at that stuff. He was good. Yep. Yeah. Michael really knew what he was doing, but I had no idea a move that simple from one place to the other would start bringing in that kind of money. And, yeah.
David and Mike both tended bar after college, or before, while they were going to school.
Yeah, they both learned. David and Michael both learned, and I remember when Mike came to work here. Let me see. He he couldn't take 2 nickels and rub together every night. His cash register would be short, and I said, man, what the hell is going on with this kid? I said, he can't even count. I says, he's a, you know, and he turns out to be one of the ones that's
He took accounting.
he's accounting in school, you know. But I mean, I cashed him up every night. Nothing was ever right, you know.
Yeah. I worked here for, I would say, I think 3 years probably during college and stuff. One of the interesting things was the people that come in, right? So there was a guy who came in. I don't remember his name, but he came in 4 nights a week. And I was working Pepsi during the day and doing this at night. But I talked with him, started asking him questions, and I found out nobody really talked to him. He sat by himself. He was like the engineer that managed a crew of like 50 people to do all the sewage in the city. And I started asking him questions about, and he's like, oh, this is what I do. But you start peeling the onion back, and the first thing I learned running the bar, or not running the bar, but bartending here, everybody's got a story, and they're always amazing. You learn so much because, you know, you live your life, you know, maybe, you know, sort of the half-inch deep, mile wide, but their life is a mile deep and a half inch. So you ask him the question, he's telling me, oh yeah, we got these sewage projects, we're doing this, we're doing, and it was just, I mean, that was just one and I talked to my dad about it, he's like, oh, no, I didn't really know what he did. And he's like, but you just dig in, you ask questions, and everybody, I can learn something. That's what I love. I can learn something from everybody who walks in the door here. And that was always the first thing I learned being a bartender.
And David come in almost like he'd ran the business for 20 years and he took it over. I had to have a, let me see, I was something wrong with me.
He finished college. He says, I'll take over and then I'm going to California. I'll work for you and give you the time. So you walked and.
I had polymoralgia rheumatica, and he came to work for me for about 3 months. He said, Dad, I'll work for you for 3 months, but he says, I'm packing up that card and I'm going away. He said, so I could do it for 3 months. And he came down here, he took over this bar almost without any direction from me. I walked 50 pounds off, and finally the day came and I said, Ginny, I said, you know what? He hasn't said nothing to me. Maybe he's going to stay. I said, maybe this kid is going to stay here. I said, maybe he's not going to California. He could stay right here and he could keep running the bar. I said, maybe this will work. Maybe it's going to work out for us. I said, geez, you know. He comes up the next day and he drives up with his girlfriend in the back and a package put to the hilt. He said, Dad, we're leaving in an hour. See you later. And down the road he went.
For one part of it, I lived upstairs, which is not the greatest place to live, but I lived at the top. I lived at the apartment at the top of the stairs, and it was easy to come to work. You walk down the stairs and you're in the bar. But music, you hear the music, you hear all the stuff going on.
I experienced Colesante's when I met David in college, and David worked here, and the customers loved him. They had a pool table. He'd play pool with all the customers. There was a apartment upstairs. It's had a lot of characters living there, and David would stay up there. And we just saved money and worked here until we ventured on to California.
So I was pretty excited about getting that 3 months because it gave me just time enough to get feeling better. But off he went, pulled up right in front of the house. Him and Debbie, the girl he's married to, him and Debbie pulled up right in the front of the car, and away they went, and down the road, you know. I'm back to work.
He always did what he said he was gonna. He
now,
still
Bobby
does.
never worked in the bar, and neither did Amy, the two younger ones. But they both got their got a bachelor.
I remember my parents bringing us when we were really young, so I would say, I don't know, probably since we were babies. I haven't seen pictures or anything, but I remember coming in probably around 4 or 5 years old. Yeah, it was always something we looked up to and something that we were always like really excited to come around. And every time we would come, my grandpa would always be really happy and excited that we're around and just hanging out. I remember playing he used to have these little games like on the bar table. So coming in, just hanging out while everyone was having a good time and playing some of those games, or even like coming early in the morning, we would help them out a little bit with some stuff when we were younger. So we would come in all the time. We came in when we were probably 5 and 6 years old.
Yeah.
And we would have to come in the morning because Grandpa didn't necessarily want us around some of the regulars. So, so we would come in and he had a little touchscreen game thing, and he had a shuffleboard that we used to play with. Oh, and a bowling machine.
The bowling machine.
The bowling machine. It was an old style bowling machine. Put your hand in there and then you get a strike every time if you hit it on a certain spot.
I remember being behind the bar and seeing Sandy and stuff since I was really young. And you walk in and like, it smells like it's Colesante's, like you know what it is.
I always remember the smell. So if you walk into an older bar anywhere, I can remember that smell like I was 7 or 8 or 9 years old. It's just like a staple of the family. It's
Yes.
it's like its own legend.
'69, him and I became partners, and I'd gotten through the School of Commerce. Then I went to JCC under the GI Bill for a year, and then right after that was 1969 that I went in.
He just told his dad, he says, I got kids, I got to have some kind of, no, I've been working here.
I've been working here and I need some security, and so he put my name on the liquor license in 1969, and I worked with him from '69 along with, well, since I got out of the Navy until 77. Blizzard of 77, that's right. So him and I worked together until '77, and he was.
He turned the bar over to you.
He more or less, you know, I was running it and I was getting the income from it, and he got the rent. That's what we did. That was the agreement we made. You could take the money from here. I'll retire and go on get my Social Security, and he got rents from 3 apartments over the bar, and I took the money off the bar. Yeah, that was kind of the agreement we made. Oh yeah.
He dragged him out of a bar one day. He was out drinking, and he was drunk up the street, and he was supposed to come in and work, and so his father went in the bar, dragged him out.
Yeah, right down the street he come in. I said, Dad, I'll be there. If I ever missed any work, I said, I'll be there. Don't worry about it. Come on, you're going. And I couldn't do anything. What am I going to do? Fight a man, an old man, your father? He grabbed me, and one guy come back in the next day. He said, Georgie, what'd you let that old man pull you out of that bar for? You know, I said, well, he was my father. He had to go. But it looked funny because, and I was bigger than him, and I was definitely stronger, and he was like pretty near, I don't know, 70 something, I don't know, but he just come right in and he grabbed me by the back of the shirt. You're going to work? I said, I'll be there, Dad, I'll be there. And right in front of about 30, 40 people, he dragged me out of there, and the guy said, why'd you let him do that? I said, my father. I said, and I learned a couple lessons from Dad because he got me a whole list of stuff that he told me not to do, and he told me to make sure I pat people's hands when you give them back their money so they know they're getting the change back. And he says, there's a way to shut off a woman in here, George, because I got into the mix with him down there. And I said, Dad, I don't know what to do. I said, this woman's going crazy here. George said, just follow my lead. He said, I'll do this. He said, I know you didn't know how to do this. He goes around the bar and he calls the police. So I'm watching and I'm standing back, and she's going crazy, and she's throwing her arms, and she's stamping her feet, and she's doing this and doing that. I'm still watching because he hated to call the police. Cops come in the door, picks up one arm with the girl. God damn it, I'm not going nowhere. You ain't taking me. He picks up the other arm and lifts her right off the floor, all 120 pounds of her, right? And she says, God damn it, take me anyway, God damn it. And she's kicking her feet, and out the door she goes, right? I said, Dad, I thought you didn't want to call the police. He says, George, he says, you cannot reason with women, especially when they're drunk. He says, you can't get positive by physically throwing them out of here. You have no other choice. There's no choice. You have to throw them. You have to call the police on them when they're unreasonable. So we turned the clock ahead maybe 10 years, right? One of my bartenders was working, and we'd gone 10 years without a police call, right? Wayne's on the bar, okay? Sandy's working for me, okay? And so Wayne says, Georgie, I don't know, what do you want me to do about this? What do you want me to do? I said, well, shut her off, try to get rid of her. I said, you try to handle it, you know? And so he coaches her and he gets her out and he sends her out the back door. Then he comes back to me, he says, George, he says, do you want to come here a minute? I said, what? What's the problem now, Wayne? He said, you go out on the back porch and look at the back porch. I look up there and she's stark naked on the back porch, dancing on the back deck, you know, up in the back. He said, what do you want me to do now? I said, you gotta call the police. I said, you sure can't touch her now that she's naked. I said, you have to call the police. And so that was the first time in 10 years that I had to call the police. And I had no choice. And Sandy had gone 10 years without a police call. So I said, you did good for 10 years, but we had to do something. But that was the longest we went in one running of the bar where we never had a police call here. And it went pretty near 10 years until we had that naked girl up there. And I had to go back to Dad's rule. I had to go back to his rule about how to handle that things. And he also told me, he says, don't never go around the bar with a customer, but he says, you can reason with men. But he says, well, you can't reason with a woman when she's drunk. But he says, don't go around the bar with a man because you could get in trouble, you could get hurt. And he says, you call the police. If a man in the middle of a fight, he says, don't try to break up anybody in a fight. Don't do that. Call the police. And this is kind of the rules. I also found out about that a couple times. I was right down in this corner down here. They had two big guys who were right in the middle of a fight. So I went down and got in the middle of it, right? I hooked them up like this, and the refrigerator was down there at the time, and an egg man used to keep eggs on top of the refrigerator, and they used to sell them down here. It's called Fat Ronnie was his name, right? I bumped up against the refrigerator when I was in the middle of these two guys. The eggs came off the refrigerator, banging all over my head, right? Now I got eggs dripping through it, and I'm backed up against the wall with this 250 pounder, right? And I'm coming 3D, a fist this big, right at my head, and I can't move either way. And I said, I'm dead man. I'm a dead man. A guy's got 300 pounds behind a fist and I can't move. I'm just thinking all this stuff going around in my head. And up from behind comes this guy, Kenny, related to Carol Gould. Kenny Gould comes up from behind, and he's as big as this other guy, only he's leaner and stuff like that. I see him come up like I thought he was Jesus Christ himself, and he grabbed both arms of this, Haynes was the guy's name. And he grabs his arms and he pulls them back just before that hand reached my face. I says, oh my God. I said, I can't believe I got out of that one. I said, I shouldn't have been in the fight in my first place, you know. But and I got in another one just about 5-10 years ago out front. I had a problem with a party out here, and they had gone around front because I told them to get the hell out of the back. And there was two of them fighting over here, and I went outside. And I yelled at him, and I said, you guys, I want you guys to get the hell going and get going. My arms are going like this, going like that. They were both pretty big guys. And all of a sudden they started fighting again, and I got too close to them, and they got me in the middle. I went right down in the middle of the driveway, you know. I heard a couple of knees, you know, but I got back up, and I started screaming at those guys. I said, you get your ass down that way. You get your ass back down that way. It was almost like I was 6 foot, you know. And they looked at me, and one went down that way, and one went up that way, and that was the end of the fight. So that took care of that. And that was the closest. I just got too close to these guys twice, you know, and I pretty near got hurt bad, you know.
So there's a story about your dad telling him never to open bar tabs?
Oh, yeah. That's a good one, yeah.
What is it? Tell me.
He told you don't ever run bar tabs.
Oh, yeah. He asked me one day, he says, Georgie, he says, can you get me back into that house there where your mother is? I said, yeah. I said, I can get you in up there. He says, just let me know when you want to go, you know. So he said, I want to show you something up there. So he calls me, and I wait till Ma ain't there, you know, because those two couldn't even get together to talk, you know. So I I went and I got Dad up there, and he says, let's go to the attic, will you? So I goes up in the attic, and he looks around, he points to a box over there, you know. So he pulls it over, and he reaches in there, and he goes like this. He says, you know what this is? He says. I said, I don't know. I've been there. I wonder what the hell's in there. He says, there's $20,000 in bar tabs in there. He says, I could never collect. And he says, there's names in there, but he says, you're not going to get any money out of them people. And I said, I wanted to tell you, don't never use bar tabs. But he says, this is the most colorful way for me to show you what I'm talking about. So I said, that's fine, you know. And so I made up a story about it because people always want bar tabs. And so I tell the people the story that I went up to see him when he was dying, and he pulled me down by the shirt and said, Georgie, don't never start bar tabs, he says to me. He whispers in my ear. And but that was actually a story, but he did tell me, don't never start bar tabs. That's what his words were, and I went by it, but I made the story up so people would have something to go along with it, you know, that was pretty much what he felt, because that was part of the advice he gave me, was don't never start bar tabs. That's the advice, and I never did.
How many days the bar closed before COVID mandate?
5 days. 5 days in all the years I ran it, and I'm not sure about Dad, but he used to always serve on holidays and everything. And when I went to work there, since 1966 until just cornered 4 months, I had been closed 5 days in 55 years. 3 days when Dad died, and 2 days during the ice storm. In 5 days, and since I came to work here for Dad in 66 till 90, that's the only times I had closed. Suds and Suds Laundromat. The kid, Michael, dreamed up the name, and they were doing it. First day I was opening, right? Suds and Suds Laundromat, right? Got the girls all excited, and they're all excited about doing it, right? And so I come in, and the first girl that does her laundry in there, and she's a regular customer. She's got her picture right up on the wall down there, Chrissy, right on the very top. She's excited about getting involved because the newspapers are down here and everybody's taking pictures. And so I come down in the middle of it, and I look around, and I see posted on the back bar a girl's underpants. I said, what the hell is going on here? I said, you got the newspaper coming down here, and you got a pair of girls' underpants behind the bar. I said, Joni, what the hell? I think it was Joni was her name doing that. Oh, I was just taking fun of it. I was making fun. I took her pants, her underpants, and put them up. I said, get them underpants down before the newspapers gets in here. You can't post a pair of underpants in a laundromat. I said, you can't do that. She pulls them down off the bar, and I think the newspaper's in here about 15 minutes later. They just got them down, you know. It's a libelous business. If you don't have security of some kind, you can get your ass sued. I was sued when right after I went into business with Dad. First, I was in there maybe 6 months, maybe. I got a call that there was a fight in the front, and they broke the window out of the door. Come on down. So I ran right down. It was right in the middle of the World Series, and I found some guy. They're taking him out in an ambulance, right? And he had his arm sliced, and the window was all broke out of the front door. You know, it was heavy glass. And so the guy that actually got his arm cut was his competitor. His mother ran the Commodore restaurant. I didn't know what the hell was going to happen until all of a sudden Dad and I are getting sued for $250,000. Dad comes up to me and, holy Jesus, he said, George, he said, what the hell have you done? What have you got us in for? He says, yeah, here, you've been working here for a year. I said, and I'm getting ready to get out, and I'm getting sued for $250,000. You're getting sued for $250,000. I've never been sued in my life. I said, look, don't worry about it. Let me give me some time to think here, Dad. Give me some time to think. So I got my lawyer friend from school, Mike Saunders, And I asked him if he'd represent me in this because I don't know what the hell's going on. I'm only 21 years old and being sued for $250,000. I said, Jesus, Dad's getting ready to kick me out of the job for crying out loud. So he said, George, I'll handle it. Don't worry about it. You got nothing to worry about for a while anyway. Just relax. And he took care of everything for 2 or 3 years. Then he came to me and he said, George, he says, these people are getting on me pretty good. He says, we got to figure out what to do about this. He says, they say that they're suing you because there was no decal in the window. And he says they're suing you because they were intoxicated and they were drinking too much. And when they celebrated, they broke the window. And that's why they want $250,000. I said, Mike, let me look around. Let me think about this. I said, this is 3 years. I said, this thing's been sitting over my head. Dad's been hounding the crap out of me every time he sees me. You know, what about? I said, I'll take care of everything, Dad. You know, I'll take care of it. And nothing went to him. Everything went to me, you know. And I kept wondering what the hell's going to happen. I went through the house, and I did a hard target search. And I found a piece of glass that I picked up when I came down. And the piece of glass had a decal in it, okay? And they were suing me because the glass was clear and he didn't know it was there and he bumped into it, and that's what their explanation was, you know. I picked up the glass, still had the guy's blood all over it, a nice clear decal. I took that down to Mike and I said, Mike, I said, this is all I got. I said, I hope this takes care of it because I said, I'm glad I saved it. I mean, who saves a guy's blood for 3 years? Who the hell does that? I said, I got it right here. It's a 1/2 inch thick. It's broken and it's got the decal on it. George, let me take a look and let me see what I can do. He called me about a week later and he says, the lawsuit's all over. He says, they were refusing to pay the medical bills, your insurance company was, and he says, they decided to pay the medical bills as long as they don't have to pay $250,000. I said, well, good. I said, I'm glad of that. And I celebrated, and I was happy as hell. I didn't have to get sued. But when you're in your 20s, you get sued for $250,000, it scares the hell out of you. I didn't even think back when I first went in, but I've worked on trying to treat people right, mostly, and that's what brings them back in, and people that are working for me, and I've had a lot of them that haven't, you know, because they're gone, you know, but I've had a lot of them that have, and they know how to treat people, and it's important that you keep people that treat people well behind the bar, you know, and it's hard in a business when you have alcohol. And it happens that they clash every once in a while, but it's never been damaging to me. It's not an old man's job, yeah, it's hard, but I've been in it and I know what it's about, and I've been lucky with employees. I've had 3 girls that worked for me for 25 years. Sandy's been here 26.
George and I have a difference of opinion on how many years we've been here. My favorite story to tell is he actually only hired me for 1 day. And I've been here for about 27 or 28 years since, so it's my favorite story to tell. It was only 1 day for a party. He used to have parties at his house or at Westcott's. They weren't here, a summer party every year. And all of the bartenders that he had working for him at the time would go to the parties, and he would hire somebody for that day to work the bar, and he would transport people from the bar to the party. So the bar was always open. And he hired me for the 1 day for that party, and then less than a week later, one of his bartenders quit, and been here ever since. He said, I didn't think you were going to make it through the day because he didn't think I could handle the patrons, but obviously I've not had a problem with that. I have no problem with them. I can count on one hand how many times I've ever had to call the police in here, and I think only once was for a fight.
Really?
Yeah. It's not an employee-employer relationship. We're family. He's the best boss I've ever have and ever will work for. He doesn't treat you like an employee. He doesn't treat you like you're paid your family. I have 4 children, and 3 out of my 4 children work here. One of them lives upstairs now. Yeah. My oldest daughter, in fact, she was here. She actually worked the party with us last year, even though she's working somewhere else. And I have twins, and both of them worked here at one point in time or another. When I first started working here, I had been here maybe about 7 or 8 months, and George was taking the day off. So he said, if something happens, just call me, and well, something happened, and I had to call him. somebody wanted to borrow money or something, and I had to call them. And then something broke down, and I had to call them. And, it just kept going on and on and on. And I had called him like 3 or 4 times that day for just different reasons that I hadn't been here long enough to make any of those decisions on my own yet. So he said to me, after I'd called him about 4 or 5 times, he said to me, don't call me again unless somebody dies. He said, just figure it out for yourself and let me know what you did. I'm like, okay. About 2 hours later, the guy in the apartment upstairs died. And I said to him, don't you ever tell me not to call you again unless somebody dies.
I had another girl that was with me, Joni, and I had another one that was with me, Lolly, when I took over, and they were both with me 25 years, and so was Sandy. Over the 60-year period I've been doing this, they've all run in together so that they have been learning off each other and stuff like that. So I didn't do it alone. I had a lot of help with the girls and stuff, but I learned a lot over the years. It's mostly generations is what this place going, and I didn't have any idea about it until after I've gone through whole factions of people. My bar's been emptied out probably 5 times over the last 20 years of people because of changes. I had, let me think, the first one, the railroad used to come in here all the time. I was good friends with all of them. I used to go down on their conventions and stuff like that. And a couple times, I would bring them down arms full of liquor, and I would supply the liquor, and they would give me a free trip. And then one time,
they used to jump off the train.
They used to jump off the train and come in here and drink, and then they'd catch it going back that way, And I used to go to most of it. But I told them one time, they said to me, George, you've been to the 3 days here, and we rented a cot for you, and you owe us $5 for the cot. I said, I what? They said, yeah, we have to pay 3 days. 3 days when we get out of here, that's $15. I said, I brought $100 worth of booze up here. I said, you guys drank every bit of that booze, and you think I should pay $5 for that cot? I said, that's the last time I'm coming here. I said, you guys give me a whole different idea about your appetite for friends, And so I had the railroaders all got moved, and they went down to Syracuse, I think. And then I had the brake shop in here, and I lost the whole bar one summer from cancer. The whole bar. I had 10 or 12 of them in here.
From the air brake.
From the air brake.
They made whatever they did up there. They had.
There was some kind of a thing going around, and I had all really good friends of mine, and I lost the railroaders, and then I was able to build it back up with the brake shoppers, and they all died one summer on me, and they're all good friends of mine. Young guys too, young guys between the ages of 30, 40. A whole bunch of them died all at once, all related to cancer from the brake shop. Then I had to rebuild again after I lost the girls that I fired, That was the 3rd time, and I was able to keep people from generations when you have, I still have people in here that Dad was serving, not the people, but the people's family. Debbie works behind the bar. Sandy works for me. When I came to work here, Sandy's had 3 uncles that were coming in here, okay? Debbie had her grandfather was working in here where Dad came to work. Then her father was working in here, and I used to look at her grandfather, because he was still coming in, and her father, and I was tending bar in here, and I'd say, what holds these guys up? I says, they're in here from 8 o'clock in the morning, they're still in here at 10, 11 o'clock at night, they get up 3 times to go to the bathroom. I said, how do these guys exist? I mean, I could drink maybe 4 or 5 bottles of beer, and that was too much for me, But these guys could drink a case of beer without even blinking. One's related to her family, 2 or 3 of them, and Debbie's father in there. I just shook my friggin' head because I'm working behind the bar. I never drank. I drank a couple times behind the bar. Probably the one time I got in the fight with that guy. I was drinking behind the bar. Debbie, like I told you about Debbie's father, Debbie's grandfather worked here, And then when I came to work, her father worked here, and they were all, like I told you, I just stood in awe when I was young, you know, especially Kenny Granger, and Sandy's family when I came in, the Lawtons were all good customers, hard drinkers, and I inherited generations almost, you know, because I get the kids, I get the parents, then I get the kids, then I get the kids' kids, and I've been here long enough to sustain it, you know.
Well, and it's not just the people that are here now. It's been generations of people that come in. You know, you bring your children in, and the grandchildren come in, and I still have kids that come in that were brought in a baby carrier the first time I saw them. You know, and they're bringing their own kids in, and they're saying, you know, my grandmother came in here, or my dad worked here, and it's generation after generation. It's not a one-time stop and gone. They come back.
My mom and dad, they were part of this bar before I was. My mom, Pauline, and my dad, Bob Donato, they were coming into the place long before, you know. So once I got old enough to frequent the bars, I started coming here with my mom, and it's just kind of been the ongoing thing. You know, I grew up on a small street on the north side. It was a dead-end street, and, you know, it's just, we still connect with all the people that we grew up with, you know, played hide and seek and so on and so forth. And, you know, unfortunately, some of them are moved away, but we all stay connected through Facebook and whatnot. And if we, you know, if I happen to take pictures of events down here, and I'll put them on Facebook, there'll be, you know, like Johnny Doe grew up on the north side, you know, and it was like, this is awesome, you know, I remember this place. And, you know, so I mean, it just sticks with you.
And we have a lot of thank yous to give on that account. You know, I mean, 3 generations, 4 generations in some cases. My kids are coming in here now. David's kids are coming in here now. A lot of the families have that, you know, so there's a lot of thank yous to them for patronizing and for being here through all of that, through all of its ups and downs and crazy turns.
Yeah, I got one about Fat Ronnie was his name, right? I brought him down to the beach one time.
It was one of our parties.
One of our beach parties down there, you know, and I lost track of him, and he was in the bathroom, and one of the bartenders ran by the bathroom and swung the door open, right? And one of the other persons in cahoots snapped a picture of Ronnie in the toilet. I said, you people got to find something to do besides this. I can't believe I take my eyes off at a beach party.
It was an outdoor rental.
I thought, man, that's digging to the bottom of the barrel, you know. And Ronnie was a big fat guy, but he brought in eggs to sell, and
he weighed about 300.
I went up and saw him before he died. I visited him up to the hospital before he died. Yeah, Hermie Carr, yeah, he was one of my first customers years ago, and he was one of Dad's customers from years ago, and his girlfriend used to tend bar here, Verda. And she was working here when I came to work here too, and she was working up around the corner too. And I snatched her away from around the corner when I heard.
Here when Mike tended bar for a while.
Yeah, Hermie was one of my. Yeah, Hermie was a man. He used to help Dad a lot around here, but Dad got upset with him one time because he was a big, strong guy, and whenever Dad had a problem, he would take the guy and throw him right out in the street, you know. He moved furniture for a living is what he did, you know. And him and Dad had a run-in because he got in trouble, got in a lawsuit over it because Hermie threw somebody out too early, you know. When I came in, Hermie started coming back in here, you know, because he stayed away for 5 years, you know. And when I took over with things, he started coming back in, and he was really good friends with my brother, because my brother was working down here at one time too. When he come home for the summer, he used to work for Dad. He pulled his own tooth in here, yeah. Got blood all over. I was on the bar when he did that, yeah. Yeah, he didn't like to go to the dentist, so he said to me, he said, Georgie, he said, you help me do this. I said, I don't want any part of this, Hermie. I don't want any part of this. Georgie, I'll do all the work. I'll do all the work. You just do what I say. He reaches a pair of pliers in there, and he goes like this. He gets in there, he gets in there like that, and He's holding on to it, and he says, "Now look at it. You see what I got a hold of like that?" I says, "Yeah." I says, "I can see that." He says, "You grab a hold of that. Grab a hold of that. Don't let up. Hold on to it real hard." And he says, "I said, I can't do this, Hermie. I can't pull that tooth. I don't know what it is about it. It's just not me. Why don't you go to a dentist? Georgie, it'll be over with in a minute. Don't worry about it. Just grab onto that. I says, "Okay." I said, I got it. I got it hard, Hermie." He goes like this. Out comes the tooth, blood all over his mouth, you know. He says, "Now, give me a double shot of that Seagram's. Give me a double shot of that." I said, "Are you all right?" Yeah, George, just do what I said. Give me a double shot. Give me a double shot." I says, "Okay." He puts it in. He says, "Now push that ashtray up here." So he says, I got some. He spits all the blood and everything else, and the tooth is still in the thing there, you know, and he spits it out in the ashtray, and he says, "Give me another rinse. Give me another rinse." And he says, "Okay, I'm all set." That was the end of that. Hermie Carr pulled his own tooth, didn't even need a dentist. Man, that was years ago. He was tough, that guy. Merritt Reynolds, yeah. He was a good customer for years, Merritt was. Yeah, he's on my dead wall over there, Merritt is, yeah.
With the girl down at the bigger one.
Yeah, Merritt was a good customer for years, and he had a lot of girlfriends.
You held a fundraiser. He lost his eye with a.
His eye, lost an eye. We held a fundraiser for him. We got him a new glass eye. Yep, we had a fundraiser for him out back. Yep. Yeah, Jimmy Ingro. Yeah, we were good friends. Yep. And I had all of his kids coming in here, and him and I used to go to functions together. And
went to Vegas.
I went to Vegas with him 2 or 3 times. Yep. He used to get me a couple times on things, you know. I can't remember. I went to Vegas with him one time, and I think he gave me his money to hold on to.
We went with cash, and he went with his friend's credit card.
Yeah.
One of the other railroad guys' credit card. So we paid for all the show, everything that we went. We give him the money.
I paid for his stuff too. See.
So what he did is he took our money and charged everything.
Yeah, he took my money I gave him, that he was charging for me, and charged it on his friend's credit card.
And we paid.
The guy that Stevie Myers, he come up to me. I think Stevie's still alive. His father was a customer, but he said to me, "George, after I come back," he says, how come you was charging stuff on my credit cards?" I said, "Stevie," I said, "I paid my own way." I said, "You gave that Jim Ingro your credit card. That's your fault." That was on him. I said, if he felt he was able to charge things and overrun stuff with me, that's not at my liberty. I said, "You're not getting a penny out of me." I said, "Every penny you gave him your credit card, I gave him my money for every time I went to dinner. I gave him exactly what I owed." I said, "That ain't on me, pal. You never should have gave him your credit card, and you did."
He was a character, though. He was always pulling. Jim was always doing something. He was something.
Is there somebody named Poopy?
Yeah.
Yeah, he comes in every day. That's Sandy's husband's.
George, but they always called him Poopy.
Yeah, that's Sandy's husband's brother. Yeah, Poopy Lawton. Yeah. And he was been coming in here for years. He's due to come in one of these days pretty soon. He's pretty regular in here.
He used to go out and drink with them, and they would call me, and I would have to drive all these characters around, and I was a designated driver.
We went out one time, and we hit every bar on the street, all the way up and all the way around, and we came back.
Him and Poopy.
I think we were both pretty bad shape, but he got in a fight, almost got in a fist fight in every bar, and I had to keep him out of it.
Their mind always was clear, but their balance, the two of them, they would go up the street like this, back and forth, you know.
I said after I went around with him, you know, I said, "Poopy," I said, "next time you find somebody else," I said, "I'm sick of trying to keep you out of friggin' fist fights, you know, in every goddamn bar I went to." Here, back then, we had probably 10 bars we could go into and hit, and in the area and walk, and never drive an inch, you know. And we started here, go up and down here. Every one of those bars, he'd be somebody he would start arguing with, and I'd say, let's go to the next bar and get out of there. And we just hit the next one. And by the time we got back, I said, Poopy, this is it for me. I said, don't ask me to go again. I said, you were lucky I was able to get you out of some of them friggin' fights.
What is the story about the guy that got set up to believe he won the lottery?
Oh yeah, Chuck Donor. You got him a card.
Yeah, I used to put up all the numbers back at the bar, so that people wouldn't have to look it up in the paper, And so it was one of the bartender's ideas. It was a bad idea, but they did it, And it put up his numbers exactly, and they changed every number on there, And the guy come in, and the bartender prompted him and said, "Why don't you check your lottery numbers?" And I think I was part of this deal. I can't remember because it was an awful thing to do to the guy. But I used to go fishing with him and everything else, and him and I were best of friends. And I finally put a stop to it when he read it, and I said, maybe you better. Somebody suggested maybe you better take that down to the state. Somebody's going to take that lottery ticket away from you, Donor. I said, you won $1 million. I said, Jesus. I said, what are you gonna do with it? He said, George, he said, the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fix this place up. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. And he says, I'm gonna go back here where everybody's been nice to me, and I'm gonna look after that. And I'm just I finally just said, Chuck, I said, she set you up. It wasn't me. I said, she set you up with the numbers. She put the wrong set of numbers up there. She knew your numbers, and she set you up. I said, that was the worst thing she could have done, and I really don't want to be any part of it anymore, and I don't want you going to the lottery about it.
What happened during the coronavirus period?
All of a sudden,
4 months, yeah.
all of a sudden, they show you they're going to shut me down for 4 months. I put a sign on the front door, right? Governor Cuomo shut me down. All due to Governor Cuomo, right? And the news media come up, right? And I didn't, I never would have put that, because I don't like to get into politics at all. But they got that on the news. They got, thanks to Governor Cuomo, who I definitely would want to take up a fight with the state, the city. None of these people. I'd rather not. I'd rather live a nice, peaceful life. But who'd have known that the city news was going to come down, take a picture closed because of Governor Cuomo? That's what I wrote in the thing there,
He went into such a deep depression because he had to close and he didn't know what to do with himself. He'd been doing this for 50-some years every day. He still came in and did something every single day, even if it was just to mop the floors. But he was still here every single day.
Come in just to mop the floors that are clean.
And he'd sit there and watch his TV like he would in the morning before the bartenders came in. And yeah.
And I thought for sure, and they came in and interviewed me after that, when we opened up after 4 months, and I never brought it up. I never brought up the sign, but it was on the news once. But somebody missed out because they had an opportunity to do a big political thing and probably do me a lot of damage. And I was glad they didn't. Yeah. I'm glad they didn't.
Were closed. Mike and Dave, and David's oldest boy, drove up Mike's camper and came up and drank. Remember they
parked in the driveway. Yeah.
They took all of the booze because the bar was closed, so they took all the beer, and they said, well, we're going to drink up the beer. Well, you can't throw it away instead of throwing it away, and they drank up pretty near, I don't know, a lot of beer in about 4 days, right? And nobody was in here. They played the jukebox. They had a friggin' ball, and I said, I expect you guys to pay for this beer. I said, I expect you to pay for it, and not write it down, but I says, use the cash register. You can play the pool table, play the jukebox, and you can bring your friends down, but make sure the doors are closed, make sure that everybody can't see. So
this was during shutdown?
Yeah, because nobody was supposed to be in here, but they were.
So I came in the next morning, and I found like 3 cases of beer in the thing, empty cans. And I went in the cash register, and there was $1.25 in there. I said, Mike, it ain't hard for me to do the math here. I said, you guys ain't paying for them beers. I said, I hate to charge you with this, but I says, you owe me about 40, 50, 60 bucks. I says, not $1.25. I says, you're ripping me off. I told you could use the bar. I said, I don't plan on getting rich off of this, but I says, I think you're cheating me here. I says, $1.25 is different than 40 or 50, 60 bucks. Well, Dad, I said, if you want to start the paying, then you look tomorrow and see what's in there, you know. So I go in the next night, and it was like $1.50, you know. Yeah, they had a pretty good run here while they was here during the Corno. They all did pretty well for themselves, yeah.
I don't know what it is that makes it so different and special other than George himself. And it's the things that he does. It's the way that he handles things. You know, if somebody gets sick and needs something, he's the first one to reach out. And to have the people in the bar reach out too. We've done benefits. We've done, every year we do something for a contribution for something or somebody, you know, if it's somebody personal that's in the bar or their family or Cancer Society or, you know what I mean? It's just normal.
Right now.
There is, for one of our patrons that's in the hospital. Yeah, this isn't a club, it's a family, and it goes all the way around, and it's just, I wouldn't be where I am today without Colesante's. I probably were, I've said it many times, I don't think I could ever work in any other bar because they're so different. It's just not this type of bar.
I'm going to give you an example. Me and my fiance stopped in here a few weeks ago on a Sunday, and there was two gentlemen back here playing pool, and they were kind of like passing through. They're from Canada, and their car broke down, and they were driving to Florida. And before the end of the day, he was like, we knew when we walked into this place it was just that hometown bar. And he goes, and that is exactly what we were looking for. And we played pool with them, and they had a great time, and we were hoping that they were able to get their vehicle and proceed on their way to Florida. But yeah, I mean, that's just an example. They both said when they walked in here, not knowing anybody, but they just felt that feeling as soon as they walked in. We come in here during the day and have so much fun, just play music and sing, and it's a nice little place.
Yeah, it's a great place to be. Great place to come up and have a couple beers.
Even when it's not a big party, you know, like I bought a car up here a couple months ago, and I came up with a buddy to pick up the truck up in Carthage, and on the way through we got to stop at Colesante, get the picture taken in front of the sign.
Oh, that's what
come in here, drink for a couple hours. You know, it's just a cool place to hang out.
A lot of pictures have been taken right underneath that sign right there.
Yeah.
Most bars are, I would call them transactional. They're really not, there's not a connection, it's a transaction. You go in, you have a drink, you order a drink, you pay for the drink, you order a drink, you pay for the drink. It's very transactional. This place is very different than that.
It's a relationship.
Yep. Yeah, it's family. It's what it all boils down to.
Oh, it's a special place. It's somewhere that we go, and I mean, every time I bring my friends up here, we come here. This is a place to come. More importantly, you get to see the people when you meet the people. Like Sandy, Dee, Deb, all those bartenders. I come in, I give them big hugs. They love me. I love them, and I mean, yeah, it's awesome. You get to spend time with people that you love, and you get to have a place that you get to do it. And look, we get to be on the water with them. We get to be at the lake or at the river. But I mean, this is one of my favorite places on earth. So it's fun to come in when you know a lot of people. So when you're a regular, like us, but what's special about it is you have a lot of people that know each other, and you got a lot of people that care about each other. If you walk around the bar and you see all the photos, and you see the people that have been coming here, and it's not their fathers and mothers, it's their grandfathers that came here and brought them, and then they're bringing their daughters and all this other stuff. And that's a pretty cool thing to have. And I think it's special. So my grandpa, he's just such a loving, caring, and kind of unique character and person that he gives, I'd say, this place the life that it has, for sure. His personality, how he acts, just everything about him and all the greatness about him, it just makes this bar amazing.
Some guy gives me some static about a $5 bill. He said I ripped him off for a $5 bill behind the bar. So I got relieved, and I said to him, let's go out. He says, you still think I stole money off you? Let's go out and settle this, right? He outweighed me by 200 pounds, you know. I drove him up there. Blank parking lot up there, right? I just got out of the Navy, and I figured I was pretty tough, you know. But man, I got in that goddamn in that thing with him, and I said, man, I hit him 3 times in the face, and he never even flinched, you know.
He come home with blood all over his
Next thing
shirt.
I see is this gorilla coming at me. You know, it's twice my size, you know, and he gets a hold of me, you know, and I can't even move. And I mean, I still remember his friggin' name, you know. And he got the best of me, and I had an awful. My face was a mess. Then the next day, the guy come in, try to get served, and Dad wouldn't serve him. But I did do some damage to him because he had his hand all bandaged up, and he had a broken thumb. I think maybe I twisted his thumb, but I actually drove him to fight, and then I drove him somewhere else, you know, because I knew him, and I just felt like a fist fight. I got the worst of that one, I'll tell you that. She took one look at me, and because I came to the door, we were living on Colorado Avenue. Yeah, I just come up to the door, and
We had 3 kids then.
Yeah, I had 3 kids then. Yeah.
He comes across like he's a tough guy, but he's a pussycat. And he does things for people they don't even know he did. And it'd be the same people that'd be ditzing him afterwards, but he never says a word. He just does himself.
I just appreciate them for keeping the place open, keeping it running, and he's very accommodating. I mean, whenever he comes in, he buys the bar around, no matter who's in here, and you know, I don't see him very often. You know, I mean, because I'm kind of hit and miss, you know, different times of the day. But you know, they're wonderful people. They really are, and always the first ones to stand up and do a celebration of life for, you know, somebody that might have passed, or to hold a benefit, or I myself had some health issues. I had a heart transplant, and they put, you know, big thing behind the bar, and they collected all kinds of money for me. And then I had breast cancer, and they did the same thing. So I mean, you know, it's just they love us just as much as we love them.
One of my customers there, he's gone now, but we raised pretty near 10 grand one time for this guy out at the bar. Yeah, Sandy did it. We had people all over the place, and they had different ways to make money. We did it all in one day. We raised pretty near 10 grand for Jones
to help pay for hospital bills.
Hospital bills and stuff like that. And we got a jug behind the bar for his sister-in-law right now, you know. And Sandy's real good friends with the Joneses. But yeah, that's for his wife now. His wife is in the hospital.
You know, that's probably a side of bar families that nobody really talks about. There is a community, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. And it changes though. It changes because one times when the people die, you know, up on there, their kids come in, you know. And one guy keep asking me about a picture. He said, you got to put that picture back up there. You lost it when you took it down up here. I had to change the dead wall and take a live wall. So
I said, memory.
that's my live wall up there, see. Because they got mad because I took the dead wall, because nobody knew anybody up there anymore except me. Because all the dead ones were the ones that were up there, you know. So I took the dead wall down, and I put up a live wall up here, okay? These people are alive, but they started complaining. The family of the dead people say, why'd you take the dead wall down, you know? I said, well, nobody knew him. Well, my father was in there, so I ended up having to recreate the dead wall up there. Is what I did. I recreated
the ones
it.
out there, the guys that come in
And those are the special ones up there.
Over the
There's five, six dead ones up there that are big ones, big pictures, and they wanted the big ones put up there.
Drink
so.
with them.
Yeah.
Drink the old friends.
Yeah, drink with them.
Yeah. Well, there've been some live ones up there by mistake. She makes mistakes once in a while, and we have to I have to view them every once in a while to make sure they're not still alive, you know, because if they're missing for a long time, we're just not sure, you know. And so we say we should put them up there and show the respect to the dead people. But then when somebody walks in and shows a picture over there, they don't want to be on the dead wall, you know. Yeah, that's happened before.
You don't want to ever be on the dead wall.
She keeps saying, George, you know how the dead wall came about? It was Christmas. Let me see, what the hell was it? Oh, I know. When I used to work here, okay,
Christmas Eve.
I used to work Christmas Eves and I used to work New Year's Eves, okay?
Like way back?
Years ago. Worked every holiday. And I had to work them because nobody else would, you know. So Christmas Eve was the day they bring up the dead, you know. The dead rise Christmas Eve. And so on New Year's Eve, they fight, okay? That was the night of the fights. New Year's Eve was a big night of the fights because I had a lot of fights on New Year's Eve. I used to have to break up, and one time I shut off the whole bar, right at midnight. One guy tipped over a bottle of beer over here, right? And it spilled on the table. One other guy got mad at him for doing it, and the next thing you know, the whole back room was fighting. I come out, and that's the busiest time. New Year's Eve at midnight is when everybody's drunk, they're spending money, and the money starts to roll in after 12 o'clock, you know. So I'm out here, and I see the goddamn fist fights going on, and I start breaking them up 2 or 3 at a time, and the next thing I know, I've shut off 18 people, right? And I'm raising my voice, I'm yelling at the top of my goddamn lungs, and I says, you out of here, you out of here, you out of here. And I opened up the goddamn door like I was 8 foot tall. I swung the door open. 18 people filed right out the door at 5 minutes after 12. And I walked out, and there was 3 people left at the bar. And somebody says to me, did you just see what you did, George? I says, yeah, I did it without thinking. I says, they're all gone, and we got nobody here on New Year's Eve. Nobody here. And I said, boy, but that's the 2 nights, and the dead walk on Christmas Eve. Because they all talk about the dead. So I said, from now on, we're going to take a slideshow, and instead of everybody talking about the dead, we're going to put a picture up every 5 minutes of a different dead person, so they can change and think about somebody different dead. I said, I'm going to get a slide viewer, and I says, that way we'll do it that way. She said, George, you can't do that. That doesn't have any class. That has no class at all. I said, I don't know about class, but I said, I'm just tired of having people rise on the dead on Christmas Eve. And so I said, this is what I'll do. I'll get a bunch of people, and I'll put them in a frame, and I'll put them up. And I said, then we'll have the dead wall. You can't call it the dead wall. You got to call it the memory wall. I said, well, I won't call it anything at all then. I said, we'll just put it up. So that's how the dead wall came, and it's been up there ever since.
And you notice it's still called that.
It's the dead wall, that's what it is. And people come in, and they were ignoring it, but they still want to see it. And I had to bring it back. I tried to do away with it, I couldn't. So I had to bring it back. You know, I've been to probably, God, I'd say at least just since in the last 4 years, I've been to probably at least 100, maybe 150 funerals I've had to go to since the corno, you know.
COVID.
The corno, you call it whatever you want, yeah. But that since then, it's been especially a lot of people passing away, because a lot of old people, and but I've been to maybe 50, maybe even 100 in the last 4 years. But I took it on when Dad died. He used to be the one to go to the funerals. Dad always went to them. And so when he passed, I took the job. I remember going to one funeral. This is a funny story. I went in, and there's both sides on it, right? I goes in, and I looks over at the body, and I said, that ain't the guy. I said to myself, that ain't
some woman came up to you and said, oh, I'm so happy. That was so nice of you to come.
Thanks for remembering us. Thanks so much for coming to the funeral and for saying goodbye to him. I said, yeah. She says, I said, that's fine. I try to do that. And so then I go out, and I keep shaking my friggin' head, you know, and so I look on the name, and I went on the wrong side. This is the guy I meant to go for. So I said, geez, there's the guy I came to see. So I went over onto the other side. Thanks, George. Thanks for coming, you know. I happened to pick the one funeral home in the whole city of Watertown that happened to know both people at the same time. probably the worst one I ever went to, out of all of them, and I keep it in my head, a young person that died. I don't know, 16, 17 in a car accident. And I went in, and the parents were coming in the bar. And I always try to go up to the casket and say a prayer, and then I get up and go, you know. And I went in to try to get up to the casket, and it was surrounded by young people all the way around it, so I couldn't even get to it. I couldn't get to it, you know. And I could see they were all crying and everything else. And so that's probably the one time I didn't kneel and say, you know, but I got up and left. But it was probably the saddest one I've ever been to. And the family had lost a kid in a car accident, and they were regular customers, you know, so I had to go see him for it.
I mean, but he could have done other stuff. I mean, he didn't have to come down here and run a bar. And I tell you, there's no more difficult business, in my opinion. I saw my father go through it, and I've seen my brother go through it. There's no more difficult business than running a bar, especially this type of bar. There might be some fancy ass things that you can run and kind of be distant from it, but this is a hands-on operation. You got to be there. You got to be talking to the customers, and I give him a lot of credit for being able to pull that off.
And he loves people, and that's the coolest part. You get to see him, and you get to see him talk to the people that are around here, and everybody loves him. So you come in, you walk into the bar, and you see my Grandpa George at the end of the bar over there, sitting there buying a shot or buying something when he comes in. But most importantly, people are coming up, giving him hugs, saying, "How are you? How's everything going?" He knows everybody's name. So he knows every key that goes into this place. When he had his heart attack a couple years ago, my dad and I were coming down here, and we were opening the safe, bringing the money back, and he's got a very specific way to do stuff. And it's going to be on a napkin. He's going to write what the number is, and then a week later, when he fills that napkin up, he's going to flip it around, and he's going to flip it to the back, and you start running numbers there. And that's his accounting. But you got Grandpa, right, and you got Grandma Jenny, but Grandma Jenny's been there the whole time too. And Grandma Jenny, you come in here on a Sunday, and Grandpa George is cleaning the bar over there. Grandma Jenny's moving the tables. She's sweeping under everything. She's cleaning the tables. She's cleaning the floor, mopping the floor. And you got both of them. And it's cool. I mean, it's awesome to see. I love both of them, and it is a special place, I can't say. We got a lot of good memories here, and it'll always be Grandpa's bar.
What keeps bringing you back?
The atmosphere, the people, the bartenders, and most of all, George. Most of all, George. George and I are like this, and Jenny. He's one hell of a good guy. He is. He's very good. Take the shirt off his back to give to you if you really needed it.
Yeah, no, look, I love the fact that everybody comes out to see him. I mean, you come for the bar, but you come for the guy that owns the bar just as much as you come for the bar. So it's a big deal.
Well, hell yeah. I wouldn't miss that for all the tea in China. And I'm talking about China. I wouldn't miss it. No, yeah, they are great people.
It's always nice to have friends come back that I've had a lot of people contact me, say, when is it I'm coming home, that live out of state. I'm really looking forward to seeing all those people. Of course, anytime that we have Bob Kissel here, it's a good time. You know, everybody looks forward to a good party. George puts on some good parties. And he has for 60 years. He has for all those years. And the customers that'll be here obviously have a good time, which makes it helps everybody have a good time because everybody else is too. So, and we don't have the fights, we don't have the problems that you usually get when you get a big crowd. So I am definitely looking forward to celebrating George and Ginny on that day because this is their day.
Well, it means a lot, and it has in a family a long time, and it's a difficult sort of situation now because he's getting to the point where he's not going to be taking care of it for much longer, and all of us have grown up and are in our own ways. So what's going to happen to it? That's sort of on the family's mind and on our minds. We don't know. 90 years was a long time for two people to manage something, and that's a hard thing. When we had the 80th, that was it. We had the 85th, that was it. We were having the 90th, and that's it. You know, I mean, So you don't know how things kind of take over, have new lives, or how new people step in. I don't know what kind of opportunities are going to come about that are going to either keep it in the family or keep it moving and keep it going in one way, shape, or another. You can't. You just got to be open to it when it happens. It's an emotional time. You know, I hope it is for... My father's a strong man who doesn't show emotion, but I know that someplace there, it's got to be meaningful to him, that this means so much for so many people, you know.
I think it's really great that this place has stayed the way it has for 90 years. And I think George is, you know, my father was a testament to that, and I think George is a testament to that, to keeping it that way. I don't know if that cooler's still out there, but they had a cooler out there. I'd have to go look. That was there in 1933. I think it might be gone now. But they put 30 compressors in that cooler. And if it's gone, it just recently went. But for this place to be functioning like that for 90 freaking years, just think about that. 1933, my father bought this place, and it's just amazing. And George, it never would have happened if it hadn't been for George making a commitment to take the bar over. When my father got sick, that was in the late 60s, early 70s. I was off teaching school and doing other things. And my sisters were gone. Both of my sisters were gone to different parts of New York State. George was the only one. And he stepped up. And you can't say enough about somebody who stepped up in that situation and basically got my father through that illness to the point where he passed away, and then had the balls to take over this business and keep it going. A lot to be said about that. And I love this place. It's a great place. I promise myself, I don't get up here that often. I used to get up here frequently when I was younger. But I don't get up here that often anymore. But I promise myself every time I come up here, I'm at least going to stop in for one beer at Colesnte. And I've done that. I've been honest to myself about that. But I love seeing this place functioning, and George tells me the bullshit stories he has to go through to keep it going. He has nightmares with these girls that he hires and all that stuff, but it's fun. It's fun to sit back and listen.
It was interesting. My Uncle Dick came to the party. He's 92. Well, he's 91. He'll be 92 in like 2 months. And I asked him. I said, when were you born? He said, 1931. I said, he goes, I'm older than the bar is.
Why does it matter that this little neighborhood bar, as you said?
Well, I think it matters because again, it goes back to what does a neighborhood bar really mean? And a neighborhood bar is about the neighborhood. That's why it's a neighborhood bar. It's about the people. And the neighborhood for my dad's bar is the city of Watertown. So it's that's kind of how I look at it.
How good is it for you to see Dad's bar stomped? Like literally.
Oh yeah, it's great. It's great. I'll tell you, he was stressed because putting these things on, you got some upfront cost, right? And so he's very conscious about costs. And frankly, as you can tell, if you've bought a beer here, it's not a high-priced bar. So the margins are a little bit lean. But he was like stressed. This morning, he counted the till from last night. Stress was gone. The place was jammed. He had a lot of money. He had a great time. And this morning, the whole level of pinching pennies went away. And he's like, we're going to have a great day. Everybody's happy. It's going to be fun. So I was like, that's what I wanted to see. That's all you want.
My message to him would just be that he's the best grandpa that I could ever ask for. He's always been someone that's there for me when I was younger and I could go to for advice. And coming up here in the summers and seeing him was always the thing we looked up to and wanted to do, and hanging around the bar too. So I would just say that we love him so much and just are so proud of all the hard work and effort he's put into keeping the Colesante's Tavern open.
More than congratulations, it's a thank you. And I think it's that from everybody, you know? I mean, he's seen ups and downs in this place, and he's taken it and he's given from it, you know? And a lot of people just have to say thank you because it was here in the mornings when they needed somebody to talk to or they needed something to go and do. For me, it was that Cub Scout payment or whatever it was, or college, you know, which we all agree that he never paid any dime for our college, but there's no way we got through it without him. You know, the night they're calling before me going down to spring break or whatever without any money, he provided for us, and he did it through this place. But he provided for a lot of people in a lot of different ways. I met just yesterday Lolly Beach's grandson. She was a barmaid for him in the 1970s. Wow. And she won the ugliest barmaid contest. What it was is a contest for who could raise the most money for a charity. It wasn't, but it was something like that. I can't remember the name of it, and he still remembers that. He's my age, and he was like my age when that was going on. We were both in our 10, 8, 7, 6 years old, something like that. Yeah. And it's something that struck him. So it gave back to him to know that his mother worked for here. He remembers this item of charity that she did for the community, and he wants to let us know both that happened and that it meant something to him. That's a lot of people giving thanks over years for a lot of things that this bar has done for them, you know? Thank you, Dad, for everything you've done for me and for this place and for this community.
George, congratulations on 90 years in this business, and you're a credit to the Colesante name, and I appreciate all you've done.
Congratulations, George and Jenny.
Congratulations, Dad.
Congratulations, Uncle George.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations, George and Jenny, who does a little cleaning around here and helps out.
I'm sure she did, yeah. Congratulations, George. You've done a great job, and you kept the place going. You kept Dad's beautiful business that he loved going, because Dad did love this business, and it meant a lot to him that George took it over. You know, it really did.
A lot of great memories here.
Congratulations, Pops. 90 years. Love you.
Grandpa, it's incredible that 90 years. And he still comes on at 8 a.m. every day to open it up, and he's so dedicated to it, and it's incredible, and it's so admirable.
Grandma Jenny, Grandpa George, love ya. We love ya. You guys are our best friends. We love ya. You guys are our best friends. So, we look forward to everything you guys do for us. We appreciate it. There's nothing more in the world that I'd rather be than right here with you guys today and this weekend. There's so much you guys have given us, and it means the world. So, love you. Grandpa George and Grandma Ginny, you guys are some of the most special people in our lives. Since we were little, we've always loved coming up here, and that'll never stop. And this place is a special place in our hearts, and we know how special it is for you guys. It's 90 years is so special and amazing that I probably can't say special anymore. But we really do love you guys so much and everything you guys have done for us, and we can't wait to have so many more memories with you guys here and just keep it going. So we love you so much.
So, the only thing I can say is I have been blessed to be raised by two of the greatest people that I've ever met, and that's all I can say. 90th anniversary for the bar or not, I'm the person I am today because of what you've contributed to my life.
Let me see, what was the track of thought I had here?
3, 2, 1.
Congratulations, George and Jenny.
I was gonna say happy.
No, come on through, come on through.
Congratulations, Uncle.
And we're the sober ones.
Yeah.
She's going to remember better than.
She says she does.
I do.
I saw Uncle walk out and his eyes are a little watery. I'm like, how was the interview? He's like, yeah, it went fantastic.
Well, I'm telling the truth.
Yes,
I do that.
Either that or you got Mike. You got him snowed over.
No, he's not snowed over. He lived through some of that, but I tell it all too. I tell it all.
And then she says, I can't find it. And then she goes,
They got good pizza around town. Well, I'm glad they picked you guys. I'm glad we were able to get together with this. I'll go out of my way if those kids, if it'll give them something to watch. Hopefully we can all watch it.